Hey guys, what's up? It's Connor Whitmore here again on the Nawtystep channel, coming at you with another video, and I'm changing it up slightly today. Now, for regular viewers of the channel, you will know that at the start of this month I released a video called Extra Nawties, which was looking back at the EPs and albums that I didn't get to review in full over the month of January. And towards the end of that video, what with looking at the artists in alphabetical order, I started talking briefly about an artist called Vacant, who released an album in January called Origins, which I said I would review in full when I had gathered my thoughts on it completely, which I said had left quite a profound impact on me to the extent that I didn't think doing a track-by-track review really did it justice in terms of the impact that it had on me. I found listening to this thing, and I mean I've got through it about 5 or 6 times now, a very, very emotional experience. One that was almost beyond comprehension or beyond words. Very much providing new avenues for musical experience. You know, not so much ideas with which one could talk about, but emotions, and even taking me back to moments in my life that I hadn't quite contemplated as much as I thought I had. Such is the mellow and down-to-earth feel of this album as a whole. It really inspires contemplation, reflection, and thought on things that you wouldn't really get to grips with in daily life, basically. So as you can see, the location of this video is different. It's a bit more three-dimensional than usual. And with this change in location, the format to this video from the usual will change also. Because such is the effect that this album had on me, that I think it would make sense not to talk about these songs in terms of the machinations of them and how they were made up, but more the feelings that they gave me. Because it is a very deep and emotional experience listening to these songs. And I feel like now more than ever, it would be great to give you an insight into what I'm listening to. So for the first time on the Nawtystep channel, and I hope Vacant and YouTube for that matter don't mind about this, I'm going to be playing some of the music. Not necessarily reacting to it, but consuming the music, immersing myself in the experience and going into a bit of depth about how it's making me feel as I listen to it. And this isn't something that will become a fixture on the Nawtystep channel. I'll try to include some snippets of sound in future videos, but it will no way become a focal point of the content from now on. So I'm just going to play the album through here on my Rocket 5 speakers and pause it at particular points where I feel it's notably effective. So, here we go. Let's delve right in. And I would have said that and everything I've said previously in a much more enthusiastic way, but I'm just trying to prepare myself now for the somberness of this musical experience. So, speakers are on, house is empty, just loading up Spotify now. Let's go, albums, V for Vacant, and Origins, right, here we go. Honestly, I could almost cry. Like it's, whew, like it's just so. It reminds me almost entirely of some of Burial's stuff, even from the start. I mean, I really don't like drawing such direct comparisons, but you just have to do it here. Something that Burial tried to do, if you're not familiar with his music, was represent the harsher realities of life for some people. In many ways, his most renowned album, Untrue, depicts what it's like for a homeless person living on the streets of London. And in listening to this introduction from Vacant, I was just brought straight back to that. You know, it's so guttural and heart-wrenching, but in the most delicate way. And yeah, before things get out of hand on an emotional level too early, let's just crack on with the music. 40 seconds of the introduction to go. Just painting a picture very nicely here. It's just inspiring room for thought naturally. It's so powerful in that respect. Are we on to the second song now? No, not quite. It could have been one of those introductions that just melds into the second track. See, there we get the first instance yet again of the comparisons drawn between Vacant and Burial. It's got those cheeky little vocal samples that are littered throughout it that just add to the sheer barrenness and emptiness of it, you know, creating that gap for contemplation. I hate to keep going on about this, but, you know, yet another direct comparison with Burial is those very garagey, bare, but at the same time quite intricate, you know, skeletal backdrops and structures, percussion-wise, that keep these tracks ticking along very nicely. Oh, sorry, a little bit of a crackle there in the old speaker. See, even though the tempo is fast-paced, it's not making me move along to it, because the focus is on the horns and the strings and the spacey nature of them. Saddening, but with a generally dark feel. Once again, inspiring contemplation and not so much making me want to dance to it. But let's carry on. See, another thing that is very good at in terms of making it as reflective an experience as possible is having those long fade-out introductions that are intensely moving and beautiful. You know, with a lot of music that I listen to and that I review on this channel, the ends of the songs are very abrupt and succinct, but these ones create a very lasting impression and leave some sort of imprint on your mind. There's a real force in having a song fade out, which is something that was so present years and years, you know, decades ago, where that was happening with the majority of songs as opposed to them being cut off early, because it creates a journey and a story and more of an intrigue as to what's going to happen after what we've just experienced. Again, with these spooky, eerie introductions, man, they're really getting to me. See, I've listened to this thing a few times now, but even on like probably on the 6th or 7th time listening to this album, and that still takes me by surprise. Because it comes out of nowhere, and so as a result is impactful. I mean, the beat has the same sort of punchiness as the second track, but there's not as much of a crescendo leading towards it. And it's here that I will have to talk about a slight difference between Vacant's music and Burial's, because Burial's I feel is much more reticent and distant, whereas Vacant's is a little bit more in your face. Burial's percussion is noticeably muffled and saturated, giving it that out of focus feel, whereas Vacant's is clearly sharper, crisper, more alert. So whilst their styles are similar, there is a clear difference here in their drum usage, and that affects the mood of the music entirely. As I said, Burial a bit more distant and Vacant more direct. On to the 4th track now, Grey Heart. I said I'd try and divert myself from talking about it too much, but this is just like watching war footage in black and white. Destruction and demolition happening somewhere miles and miles away that you can't see, but that you can really feel in your gut. Whew. It's some chilling stuff. It's almost hypnotic in a way. I mean, this music just stares right into your soul. Once again, just fades off blissfully. Oh my days! Oh my days, that is... If you know Burial's music at all, then that will instantly strike you as something that it just sounds so similar. The little crackly sounds in the beginning to make it sound as if a videotape recorder is starting up or something like that. And then that lonely, vulnerable vocal sample. Oh, God, it just gets to you. When you embark upon listening to this album, you are plunging yourself right in, and there is no escape from this darkness. But it treads the lines perfectly, so it's not a darkness full of misery. Instead, for me anyway, and I hope it's the same for you guys when you check it out, it inspires hope for change. For some, I'm going to be going way too into it, but this is the honest and sincere effect that listening to this music is having on me right now and whenever I have listened to it. You see, and this is something similar also to Burial's music, it's the consistency and the repetitiveness of the drum patterns that really makes these songs what they are. And this is something that I feel Burial wanted to tap into with his music and lay bare for anyone who wanted to listen to it. The ongoing, cyclical and seemingly never-ending nature of life, especially when we are in our dark periods. And don't get me wrong, I don't wish to take this video down that haunting avenue, but I just think it is a very important thing to talk about from time to time. The hollowness that forges its way into our life at points and really asks us to evaluate everything that's going on, not only for ourselves but for the world at large. Exploring ideas about human nature and the human condition and what it really means to be alive, to be a being even. But yes, these are such thoughts that an ex-philosophy student and simultaneous lover of bass music has every now and then. See, even now we're at the end of the song and the beat is still the same. The constancy remains. It's making me think. It's really making me think. We are now on the introduction to the 7th track, Fearless. I often wonder about the state in which someone who produces music like this has to be in. With regards to its tone, it's just so far removed from basically all other music that's electronic, so it just makes me wonder as to what sort of experiences these musicians have had in order to create art like this. Okay. So as you can see here, Vacant is bringing other characters into his music through those vocal samples. So now I'm getting introspective not only about my own experience, but about others too. Because by adding this more male-sounding vocal sample, on top of the female-sounding one that pervades this album generally, you as a listener are becoming more aware that the feelings you are experiencing whilst listening to this music apply not only to yourself but to everyone. So I feel like this is just a nice way of contextualizing that huge influx of emotions that you will experience in listening to this album. Once again there you just have the beat being cut off and a nice deconstruction once again of another one of these songs on Origins. It's like channeling the entirety of a day, so you wake up and it's a bit gloomy, then that builds to something more substantial, which is the middle of your day, and then it deconstructs towards the end, where everything winds down and you return once again to that original state, preparing for the oncoming day. And this yet again taps into that idea of cyclicality. Life is just a never-ending circle of things waiting to happen continuously over and over. Okay. Bit of a change up beat-wise with this one. This one seems more like working through something as opposed to living life from moment to moment. Not so much hurrying about and running from one thing to another, but sitting down and really evaluating and analysing something. I think those underwatery notes are a very, very, very nice little touch there from Vacant. Something here is swelling and emerging from the depths. It's the beat, of course, it's the beat. Oh, okay. That little din is just so Burial, it's mad. It's honestly crazy, the likeness of these two artists. And really, I don't think that is a bad thing. You know, Burial was a truly revered artist in the electronic music scene. And people were listening to this stuff hoping that there was someone out there, possibly, who would sound even remotely like him. And I think the fact that Vacant has come out with this album is just great. I mean, yeah, he probably wants to be his own artist and not sound too similar, but it's not the worst artist to be compared to in any respect. In fact, it's one of the best. I mean, Burial is discussed as one of the game changers of electronic music. And so I don't think it will do any harm for Vacant when comparisons are drawn between him and this revolutionary musician. That is another key, vulnerable vocal sample. Again, similarly to Burial, having someone directly address the listener, but to which the listener can't respond, so effectively, they are talking to no one. The conclusion being that their cries for help aren't answered, and the desperation and hopelessness of it just increases even more. Wow. Again, another softly plodding beat, creating that room for contemplation and reflection once more. This penultimate track, Amber Light, is arguably the most powerful with its added piano notes and strings and horns. It reaches off into new emotional territories, and I think as the penultimate track, introduces the finale of this album really well as a whole. Ooh, nice. Very nice. It's looking out of the window and contemplating lifetime again. And breathe. The crash of those waves in the distance, it just prepares us perfectly for the final track. You see, that drop kind of, it caught me off guard for sure. Because you think once again that it's going to be one of those long drawn out ones, but instead it establishes that doom, 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 you know, the repetition and incessancy of it. Through that grand beat alone, it creates the feeling and understanding that this is the end to the album. An interesting tribal aspect also to this percussion, which we haven't seen in the bits leading up to this song. Just a nice way at the end of the album for Vacant to show us another side to his percussion. Yes, yes, 100% yes. This song is great. It's a lovely change up from what has preceded it and adds a whole new dimension to the album as a whole. Very industrial, metallic, with a different kind of energy and readdressing that idea of music as an instigator for change. It's just got that bit more of an urgency, verve and purpose to it. And there we have it. As eerie as ever, Vacant rounds off those 10 tracks perfectly. What an album, what an experience. I cannot recommend it enough. For me, there's nothing quite like this sort of music that taps into that reflective emotion and makes me grateful for what I have. It's a weird one to explain, and I'll try to keep it as minimal as possible and let the music do the talking. But it just does such a good job of distancing and separating you from everything that's going on and allowing you to evaluate the things that are happening in your life. As serious as that sounds, and trust me, I didn't want to deliver this in the dark tone that I have, but this is the power of music. It reaches avenues that, in my opinion, no other medium can. And it's important that this stuff is talked about every now and then. Because you know me, I love my dubstep, I love my trap, my bass house, my drum and bass, I could go on with the genres. But when I want a musical experience that's a little less hard-hitting and a bit more thought-provoking, then for me there's no better style of music to turn to than this one. And I really, really hope that you guys can spare some time to check it out. And if you've got any sort of troubles going on in your life, then this one will really help you to contextualize everything that's going on. Honestly, it's that moving. So please listen to it, and from start to finish, because I promise it will be worth it. And I hope that you could gauge that from the little snippets that I played in this video. So yeah, on that note, signing out here, and I shall see you all in the next one. Peace.